Please tell us your name.
Thinlay Chogyal.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama asked us to record your experiences so that we can share your memories with many generations of Tibetans, the Chinese, and the rest of the world. Your memories will help us to document the true history, culture, and beliefs of the Tibetan people. Do you give your permission for the Tibet Oral History Project to use this interview?
Tanda di nganzo chiye di gyarumchi gi kape gyo reswa ani nganzo peba lo gemba dunzo ge nyam nyunda lo gyu di nganzo changma dunzo ya duru chi che dunzo changma manya we na ani ta jema yang khonzo chondu di ani di lo gyu dunzo nyam do mewa cha ru dus an dunzo nya che ani nganzo maomba ge ta pebe shunge ineri ani ta gyana na ge yang shunge dunzo mangbu ji nganzo pebe lo gyu ha go mara khonzo che du che ani zamni yo la ta ngaranzo pheba gi lo gyu dun zo khandi image ha go ya chidu tiya yo ya chidu nganzo di chi wo res ta thari nganzo gi ta chi lo gyu di di chi di ani ngaranzo pheba gi lo gyu da rikshun da ngaranzo nyamnyon dun zo mala ba che nyaza che chidu yis an tani pala gi ani nganzo di che du pala gi lo gyu jorwa thum di phejo che gi chogje phugi wes.
Yes, absolutely. Oh. Thank you for offering to share your story with us.
Ani palagi logi thari nganjungyam di sheva dilani tochenas.
Okay. During this interview, if you wish to take a break or stop at any time, please let me know. If you do not wish to answer a question or talk about something, let me know.
Thari nganju di chidu zambaliya kesi para la pala pharsen ro dine goyena ngazo la ro chisra. Yang kesi chiwaji pa di kor chik shende mewa da yang di chiwadi nga leng gyangi ta leng gyande mewa ro chuna di ngazo la ro chis.
Okay. Now, if this interview was shown in Tibet or China, would this be a problem for you?
Ta tharin di ngazo gi chanchu chigyo di kesi gyana da phyola midinde gi ko da thoma chuna pala la kangi dene ke chungru wes.
No,
you can show it, use it anywhere you want. There'll be no problems.
Okay. We are honored to record your story and appreciate your participation in this project.
Nganzo di lega nala ni pala gi jushu chiwadi nganzo thoche nas.
Thinlay La, can you please tell me where you were born in Tibet?
Ani pala phol khwai ke
nga Phenpo.
And that is in what province? Mustang?
It's very close to Lhasa,
yeah.
So yes, it is in Utsang.
It is in Utsang, okay. And was there a monastery very nearby?
The Damla Gomba de Urwes. The Gomba Ming Karina. So the monastery that I was in, it was very close, and it was called Phenpo Nalanda.
Phenpo Nalanda siyade tenda khora chingi yunata jaga Nalanda sinjorwa sanje chumdendeki. Odi Nalanda de yisor.
Oh, it was named after the Nalanda University in India. I don't know if you know about it, but that's what it was named after.
Mm-hmm. And how old are you now?
Tanda pala lo khatsen.
Tanda surwe.
Oh, tanda. 70 years
70.
old.
So you were born in 1943?
The chigdong gobgya shibju sheksums like gegyo do. Yes.
Okay.
Approximately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you were born, who was in your family, your immediate family, and who lived in your home?
The pala phel didu zambala pala kimza na la ani misusu yores.
Oh, that Pula Yen Kimzandi Misachibushare, Yananti. Pala Amachi, and to Pusumyare. Tenda game by the Juju Jori, Tinangari, Tinangawala Pomajiga, Pusum Yarkum. Misabe Kimzan Chimputindere.
Oh, I'm actually from a very big family. So in my family, we had my parents and then 3 kids. So me and my elder brother and a younger sister.
And what did your family do for a living?
We were farmers.
Really?
pe shinga chimbo shu. We had a lot of farm.
Yes.
Were you moderate income or very well off as a farming family?
아니 싱바 다 나팔라기 정보 침보 수도 직 벤조 토니네 데스 야가 테도 든르베.
야래. 먼저 신바 다 뒤치그래. 신가 쳐보제. 아니 가지 다 벽을 넘다 미산 차지도 다 미산 껴야로 와. 뒤서 폴롱 당기래. 다 폴롱 당제 다는 스페셜 다야 말봐. 주도서 바 폴롱 당. 아니 동가 세로 동가 인 신가 지도 아니 주대지. 어딘데 치 손으로.
Ale tsongdi so shinga di mateo che di drudun zo pad.
Oh, drudun zo.
Yes, I am actually from a very big family, so let's say pretty well off. We had a lot of farm, and what we did at the time was we didn't have a lot of money then, so it was all in grains and food. So we used to give those grains, well, not actually give, but sort of. So we used to give those, almost like lending those grains to the poorer families, and then we could collect interest on that grain. And so when it's harvest season, they will give it back to us, but with interest.
What kind of interest? Like what percentage of interest?
걔가 가지 계좌 가지.
별이는 루시아야도 못생 줄 알아. 신기나 루자가 좀 못생 그래. 다파 목한 때문에 걔가 그냥 못돼 대신이 줄 알아. 대딩이 슐라야 목한 차려. 다 목한지 봐 야리 있나라 와. 단 다와 투나 투지 봐 야고요. 나 저지나. 신가 답에 가라. 다티네 두 보레레리아 테스트 총한테 니 걔가 랭겨.
Oh. So the interest rate, the way we measured it was, so we have measurements. One pull, which is the way we measure our grains. So if we give them one pull of grains, and that'll last them for about 5 or 6 months when they're working on their field, the interest rate would be about 20 taels makes one pull. So for each pull, we would get about 2 taels of interest.
Okay, so like about 1/10 or something like that. Two.
So 20. Is it 1
2
tenth?
tenths. 2 tenths.
2 tenths.
2/10%. Okay.
Yeah.
And why were the people in need of grain, these poorer farmers? Why didn't they have enough?
미교든 줄라 가지는 코란조 당에 가지는 요 말이스. 근데 미자는 야르고야 되는데 가르치.
지금지 다 콘돌라 신가요 알아.
뭐지?
신가요인데 다 지가서는 다 나와 시변한테 맞다기로 봐. 신가. 답디잖아요. 신가 답디 상용디 과로 상용디.
오리.
디 콘돌라야 미자이교 아디지 루여바디 세 아니 콘돌 맞다비아디 요 말. 다 미자차데도 그냥 얘 나한테는 두라버지 또 망고야 양아요. 나 방아스기로 방아. 아니 감좀 많이 야기리. 나 미사수수 가제 야스나 가제 과스는 다 야기 말봐. 이내 체 차버지 야기리. 어딘데 매야 김지.
So the reason why they had to borrow those grains they're basically seeds because the poorer families they don't have enough to when it's time to sow, they don't have enough seeds and grains because they've already eaten whatever they got from their farm. So they need those seeds for the next crop. And that's why they had to borrow from us because our families, the richer families, we used to have enough, not only for us, but we have them in our store.
In your storeroom. Right. Had the farm that you lived on, had that been in your family's name for many generations? Do you have any idea how long?
디다 팔랑온조 정벌 신가 쉬우여와. 딘조 팔랑온조 정벌나라다 베 니마니 러망고 링갈 유교네.
예 발라가 볼라도 좀 통요. 그냥 봤어요 봐.
Yes.
어제 미도네 미장코라.
Yes, I've seen my dad's father and grandfather and the land was in our family's name for generations.
Generations. Yep. And what kind of things did you grow on the farm? What kinds of products?
싱거나 가리가리 따ብ게는.
다 딩한도 디야래 나로 잠바서din 단두르와
주루와.
아니 테마야래
제마.
아니 빨간 신조래 디 num소야래 빨간 신디
세우들에 맨도
어디
세우샹인데.
빨간 num소야들이 아니 테마디 십조래
제마 간데리디나.
벽 테마디 전부 용아 벽 테마디 망아 따다 텔때야 지금 다 별라 총단이 야마 테바시루 두어라
제리.
대도 총 테마디 십지 그래 다야디 사니디 히라야 말이
제리. 덴조 셈젤 데르와.
레레 테마디 망아 다 휴르다 자미다 제네 테마디 그 비저단 핑다도 망부 수도가 스데스야래
We grew barley for tsampa, and we also grew grains, but those were not for people. Those were mostly for horse and animal feed, and we grew a lot of that because we needed a lot of those for the animals. We sold them too. We also grew mustard for oil, and then I heard that afterwards the Chinese, they've started to use the grains for horse feed for other purposes too. They've started making a lot of different things from those grains.
From those grains. Do you have any idea the size of your family farm? How large?
싱가 칠로 가가지나
싱가 신가때 애가라고 지치는다 당한주 가르치고를 벽 사제도 직지야 좀 당해 지샤 전부 시다요
It's very big.
시라베비
Yeah,
쌈
very
전부
big.
시다요 근데 안주다 신가 답에 간라 답 별다지 미신게 따야된데 요 말와 조신인데 뭔가 자기로 와
어제.
안주나라 조 페이지 쫑아 체저래 더실 더 딘데지 희체야래 신가디야 로니 담니 어디에디 다간다 신가다든 다와니 체질래가 치러와 사자와 시라침부야 시라침부
조쫑아스 요스라.
라
조쫑아.
오쫑아제야
Yeah, it was very big, but I don't know how it was measured in Tibet, so I can't quite say, but it was very big. And when it's time for when it's time to work the fields, we didn't have any machines to plow, so we had 15 zos, and we used those to plow the field. And it was a very big field.
So it took a lot. And what was the relationship, since we're talking about your farm, before we talk about your childhood, but since we are, what was the relationship of your farm and what you produced to the monasteries in the community? Did you contribute grain to the monastery, or were there taxes? How did that work?
아니 단다 빨라 혼자 다 김자디 싱바레도아 싱바도서 싱가답치니 두드 디다 싱바기 미치 딱 콘조디다 아니 곰바 낭디다 직 믹세 데와 덴데 케요나 소소 두든데 파 곰발레 셴데 게다오다 덴데 케 치우요나
딱 곰바때도 배신가 유요 그래 딱 얘는 차샤는 봐 얘는 사자다는 건지 이 베개 자외 딱벌 태기에서 들어봐 곰바리 드레붕 지수를 건조
드레붕
다딩 건조 사제지 알아 사제대 박배 태 루바데오 다 루드도 가래 아니 긴드임바도 샤라 쳐야 봐
So yeah, we had to pay a tax to the monastery. So depending on how big your land was, we had to pay the amount of tax that we had to pay. And then my village was under the Drepung Monasteries administration, so we had to pay tax to Drepung, and then the grains that we paid would feed the monks.
Would feed the monks. One of the reasons the Chinese gave for liberating Tibet was that the farmers were oppressed by the monasteries. Can you give us your opinion or experience of that, if that was so?
따단다 gyamido tambu tsu yungdu zambala khonzo khari shares na phenangi thonsebada shingbada samabed gombadun zogi nemni shayores ne khonzo share wa ani nganzo gi ta khonzo jingro tanga yungba yisin gyami gi du shares ra ta pala suso gi dithol samji ro khari yore dingone re samgi de khande
다 디데레 제르다 별전 딱 공부때 저당 한저 법에 차셔는 미 최고 돈에야 다 뭐야 봐 공부를 잡아বে 다 이내 pena mizang geg tinde pena tak nge shyo pena nge na suriji mizang gejiri saja chimbu shita nyayor daga na yi da mangbu yori ta ngone chena dagari pena nganzo na mi mangbu ya mari tanga tu baba mi nga zi tuwa saja chimbu shita yori ta yang kashela mizang kashela buku tuyunje kuini si mizang chungju do saja ske ya mari ngone tu ta ti nge ma ne su su topdan ina karina
I have to be honest, it was kind of like that. And it's not just the monasteries, even in the villages, like my family, even though we weren't very many people, it was just my parents and my brother and sister. We had a lot of land, and then there were other families too, just like us. They had a lot of land. And then there were other poorer families who had 6 or 7 kids, and they didn't have any land, so it wasn't a very fair distribution of wealth and land. So it was kind of true.
How were the taxes paid then? You mean the poor people had to pay the same amount as the people who had more land?
아니 the tax gedu zambala khane mi kyo dunzo ge chubo da chikba gyawre kantere so sajala pawe
je di sajala pawe gyawre ine nge shwatanji ko kyo ade zo tabone saja ke ya mari saja mene tax ya marwa
ruwa
to che zo mangbo yore ine ko tax gyagi yore gyagi yurde de an ko saja ko chambu shita yarwa yongura ko chambu shita yore.
So the tax depends on how much land you have. So the poorer families who don't have any land don't have to pay tax. The richer families who have a lot of land have to pay more tax, but they already have a lot of land, so it's not a problem for them.
So it was based on how much land you had, the taxes that you had to pay. And what happened to the money, the taxes that were paid? What did it support? What was it used for by the government?
The tax to Yorwa. Tax the ani kharichu de peju tang yona sa de shung la ge mora sam de shung la ge or sam je shung la marwa de gomba la rwa and the tax the ngu rang ge or yan dru ge or
ta ngu go ta ja khola pe sha khola shi ya marwa ine ta dawa na shi je de tax ke ba shung la ji ga ra ya mari shung la tax ra ya mari khansina ta bena nge lungba tendang ga de lungba de thonsi de bo 딱 나보면 전에 되기면도 다보디 대붕 지수로 와. 대붕 지수 그래. 건조야 가지고 두테 텍스트 야래. 디미셔 배샤게다 그게 요 말와 요 텍스트 야 말지.
So even though I say tax, it's not really money, it's grains. And we didn't have to pay tax to the government. The government didn't get anything at all. So the tax that we were paying, which is in the form of grains, was to the monastery. And in our case, it was the Drepung Monastery because Drepungs owned our area or our village.
And what benefit did people get from supporting the monastery with grain?
아니 미든조기야 다 수수 곰바다 든솔라 직 두다 드네테도 잠발라 미든솔 케벤로 케 요르베스
이 근데 다 데려와 가지고 다 최고 돈네 최고 돈에 야다 긴드말 야 부여라 봐 디미쇼 케벤 가케야 맞다 다 저야 테데미 가서라다 테 가데테오네 데오라 신다기 수수 케슈승인다 야마디 미만 직수서데 터바라부터 bombal야 부여
Well, it's a way of offering to the monastery and the monks, and so we had the set tax that people had to pay, but then a lot of people would pay extra because they wanted to offer what they had to the monastery and to the monks.
So what was the role of the monastery in just even in your own community, in your own village, in your farming, in your own family life? What was the role? Why was the monastery something you wanted to support? Or did you have a choice?
아니 더 곰방기 더 칼소리 겐도 딜러 더 가르치는 믿은 속이 야딘데 소속이 칼 주다든지 곰발이야 가르치는 표현이 주어래디 지 가르 곰방기 더 가르 제와도디 가르요랬다 싱바든지 냠도
그때 이 곰바도다 안kamata 곰바시디달다 추천이 샤지로 왔다 타바 추자 다 뒤져야 표현이 다 강하라고지 다지 롱베 디지 용하다 콘데 최난 게 알아 롱베 디지 용하다 아니 소소지 신이야지 가소래 냐라라 마기야 소르다 다 소소지 대화 용하기 딘데 야도야 펜도 용하기
Because there are monks in the monastery and they do all the pujas and prayers. So the hope is that when we offer them and support them, there will be joy and happiness in the village, and also for our own, in order to earn our good merits for ourselves. That's why we offer and support the monasteries and the monks.
So you grew up on this farm. What was your daily life like when you were growing up as a little boy?
Tadi shinga digala ta su chunjuga saring du zambal chik nimachi gi ta todan ro ji khande yoresa ta nimachi deshe gyawo chungna shoge ni chin gonda mangye ba
다디 당가다 페이지 로 카드네 잡아채는 야고 달로 쥐죽지는 가 잡아채기래 잡아채는 아니 다야 곰발라 데 아니 다 베쳤다고 말 롭션 채우러 말다 자왜 데다 아니 난 수레자야 매일 내가 지니 다 가서 그래 다 베베밍다 요구색으로 와다 내가 지니 오 딘데지 밑뒤인 게죠 초가 게임 다 지난 내가 저 콘도 강가 콘도 치지 싱가따야 다 뒤야 다 섬지요 간저 나를 tre요리 풍구요리 파주요리 다들 다도 지니고 그래도 욕부터 치지 다 욕부터 있는데 별로 대시부지요라 많이
So I went to the monastery and became a monk when I was about 10 or 11. So I stayed in the monastery. But at my home, most of the work were actually done by, we had servants. We had about 7 or 8 of them. And so they used to do most of the work. They used to work in the field and then in the house. And then they used to also take care of the animals. We had cows and other cattle. And so the servants would do all the things. And a lot of Tibetans kept servants at the time.
They did. And I wonder how the land got distributed in earlier generations so that some families got a little bit and some families got a lot. Do you understand that?
Yeah, the khandes chuina sa nami gashi le ya te sa chimbu shu ra da khashi chunju me shi mara ya
다디 왔다 이렇게 사버죠 딱 니만에 믿어 나라로와 야지 대바단 신제 사자된 게 인세 이제 때야 여러와 근데 하나미 맞다
그래
딱 그런도 겜바데 답변아 예 나미나 탕라스거 니 탕레리 시지디 지지지 레스미죠 그 다보 칸디 탕보 칸데 중하다 칸데 이미 찍어요 맞다 그 믿어면도 주고 때 가게 해야 맞다 시지라 이제 때야 맞다
It was just the way it was for generations. I mean, there were no papers or documentations. Nobody knew how it was decided. And it was just sort of, people just knew and accepted that this land belonged to the Thangla family.
Got it.
So nobody knew how it was.
How it started
First,
that
yes.
way, yes. That's the situation in many places. So, why did you become a monk?
Chava kharchin che venas.
땅은 그 배배되고 있는 당부시나 땅은 나를 되나 땅 나를 나좀 가서래다 땅 나만을 실린 대기로와 땅 내가 채우르다 땅 미싱내다 다 지그로와 땅 잡아 채비나 땅은 좀 농가 봤을 때는 땅이랑 지지 잡아 치는 기부 연구를 쓰겠다 가능성이 신내 채우 말와 당근에 전 어떤 야 잡아제 되면 공부 대배제 대리기로 내가 가게 지금 말와
That if I hadn't become a monk, if I had just stayed home, I would have gotten married and then stayed home and I would have to work in the fields. So what people used to say at the time was, you should just go become a monk because it's an easy life. You just get to stay in the monastery and look at scriptures and you don't have to work in the fields. So that's what people sort of said about a monk's life at the time. It was easier than being a farmer and working in the fields.
So, Was that your decision or your parents' decision?
디 팔라 탄다 차바치에 디 팔라 수수란 타 주교이나야 파마기 땅교
파마가 땅이야.
아
가르서 땅에 나라 이 시원에 지저저 분이야로 봐. 분이 여자다 겜바데 나스미체. 땅아 아니 도스타샤. 다 부직래면 땅 말이. 나느냐 그러 봐. 근데 파마게 도시야 잡아. 아니 나 땅로 주주주를 제비는 예 다제 들어다 가게 하고 하게 요 말어 봐. I
was only 10 or 11 at the time, so I couldn't make any decisions. My parents sent me. So the way it was, my older brother would stay home and take care of the family and the land, and the second son, which was me, would go to the monastery and become a monk. If they had only one son, they wouldn't make him a monk, but since they had two, and I was the second, I got sent to the monastery.
And what was it like for you when you got there?
한 곰발레디 잠발라 간데 도스도스 손나 냠뉴
곰발리알리다니 다 딘데데 부가라. 다 곰발리는 배는 ngay 로저도 망고 용거로 와. 직다바 제모들어로 망고야 시 딘데데.
But we had a lot of other monks who were about the same age as me, and so we had a lot of friends, I guess, and we played, and there was nothing special. It was just like that.
Did you happen to have anyone, like a relative or anyone in the monastery, sort of looking after you or being your teacher?
Did gombala de pala ji pingyaro da dindeke yona pala tangendo gegendo? No.
이네 다데나가 디 나샤스디 같은 지와가 라브란치가 샤로요.
No.
아니 대야 따도 진이 요래.
But like I mentioned earlier, I was put in a lama's residence. So there were other people who were taking care of the labrang, and I was with them.
I see. What is a labrang's residence like? And where is it?
The labrang di ta khande ro yore ani thanda di khawa yore sa di labrang.
다 인생 라브라 야 말이지.
This labrang doesn't exist anymore, but it used to be the gomba di mingla harsa.
냐렌타.
Nalanda. It was in Nalanda at the time, the labrang.
다 라브란스에 냐렌타 신데 라마니야 차니. 스모 신인다 조게 라브란스이지. 당가 스모 라브란데 라마 다디 곰바디 라마 차지로 와. 어디 다 라브란스도 어디 다 강바도 다 가서 강바서로 와샤 전부 휴저로 어디 된데 유리.
So in the monastery, Nalanda Monastery, we had two important high lamas, and so that each lama had their own labrang or residence, and I was placed in one of the residence. Lama di tseng kharsa pala.
Simwog Rinpoche.
I was in Simwog Rinpoche's residence, and the other lama was Chobge Rinpoche.
Can you tell us a little, for people who don't know about a labrang is the home of a lama, and why was Sinborche considered such a high lama? What was so special or unique about him?
Quran tanda tammi sama labrang sana hagung marwa. Ani tanda palai desa sim kasanga di ma thiki thare simjo Rinpoche sa.
Simwog Rinpoche.
Simwog Rinpoche. Quran di tsachimbu khandes na.
다디 땅에만에 디 양시 페버인데 봐. 양시 로망인데 라마 첨부 지가 다고 스모르.
He was considered an important high lama and had was several reincarnations. It's a long line of lamas.
다 라브란 시디자라 답변의 타바지 있는 타바디 강바데 샤스로 와. 다 라마디 슈자 라브란스 그래. 다 라브란스 디달 단징에 공을 슈소. 대 샵지 슈니라고 다 미팅게 구주여 버려. 다 맨날 자자 마진 지내야다. 저도 아니 첨부지 차려.
So usually in a monastery, a common monk would have a monk's quarter. Then a lama would have a labrang, and with just a group of people just like caretakers and helpers. So he would have his own cook and people just assigned to different duties. So about 7 or 8 people.
Was this High Lama, was he very elderly or?
그런 공로 되고 있나?
리리리. 그라 콜로 벤데 피지 첨부시라 제주 차량들이. 다람살라 인디아 야갈 샤리.
He was old. He was probably in his 80s, and he passed away in Dharamsala after coming to India.
Is that right? We're talking about the Galupa sect?
Gelubarwa.
마라 사자.
Oh, Sakya.
Sakya. 사자.
Okay. And so what age did you go to live in that place, in that Lama's residence? How old were you?
Lavran rodu zambal pala handlo.
제들 nga 타바지들 나랑 내 바바기 라브란 제샤리.
Moji.
달로 중이 조선지 될라 말이.
I couldn't have been more than 12 or 13. So my father just sent me to the Labrang.
And how long did you stay in the Labrang?
Labrang lo khatse de in bala.
땅 dinhe ngab ju nga go bati.
Oh, I was there till 1959.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
Lo khatse slow.
그래 되래.
Okay. And so that would be 6,
I'm
so
trying
about
to figure
16.
out.
So you were there for about maybe 4 years?
어,
she
4 5
saying
yeah.
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. Yeah.
4 or 5 years. Can you tell us a little bit about your life in the Labrang?
Labrang nalda khandero.
라브란 기부시라요.
Oh, it was very nice. It was
Yeah.
a very good life in Labrang.
그다지 좀 매내야 마진 칼라서 님들이 요래.
Moji.
아니 간저 기독티데야 다 시험받을 때 강바장만 소로 왔다 심중다 돼서
Moji.
디데지 딱 운에서는 간저 빼졌다고 딱 빼졌대 럽중 치고 이게 돼야 뒤져 지기야 기다지야.
Oh, it was a very good and easy life. We had our own cook, and the younger monks, including myself, we would clean the labrang and do other simple chores. We were also looking and studying the scriptures, but we had to do like that as well as just taking care of the labrang. But it was a very good life.
What kind of a student were you?
Didi pala di kombanan didi zambal di lobju khande yago yes. Lobju khande
럽중 어디로 다 디디달라 이게 로야 돼 티아즈라고요.
Moji.
땅아 조용디 된다 지금 표유라고 신야데 다 대대는 신벌이
Moji.
신님의 딱 그런 게 진게 다 벌려야 랍다도 좀 야마를 와.
Moji.
아 망아지 타와 제바도 이게 로야디 신기리 아니 미산 타가 하시에 보고 야 랍다 진제 아니 이게 티아들라고 그러시 이게 신이 야마.
I was an okay student. I learned to read and write, and when I came from Tibet, when I escaped, I knew how to read and write, which was because of my life in a monastery. And you probably know this, but we didn't have schools in Tibet at the time. So the only people who knew how to read and write were the monks, and even the monks, not all of them knew how to write. They could read, but not everybody knew how to write. Like some children from some of the richer families who could afford to send their kids to school would learn how to write, but it was not very common.
Not very common. Was it easier to live in a labrang, which was to be a smaller kind of community, than in one of the bigger monasteries if you were a young child?
Tapno chaba shunji la imbaina labra nala de le la rwe ja gomba chimbo de nal de le la rwe khande res.
답변은 라브란 디체는인데 당한도 초초는 라브란데 공부대 줘라.
Moji.
다야 라브란 멤버야 타샤 카시에기 기도라고 지 기긴데 디도 숨시냐데인데 야래. 야래디 단지쇼데 라브란데 시다 다야가 벤조시다 야야.
So when we had like big prayer sessions, we would have to go to the bigger monastery. We would have to go from the Labrang. But other than the labrang, there were also some other monks and who were living in the common monk quarters, and they used to have 2 or 3 students with them too. But of course, life's a lot easier and better if you were living in a labrang
In a labrang,
than
yeah,
in a
yeah.
big monastery.
Was there anything about the lama that you served that you remember? Was there anything special about him or his teachings that you have some good memories about?
아니 근데 라브라나 Simwog Rinpoche's 그라.
예.
코랑이 꼴래야 다 발라기 쳔바도 약부들이 개요에 코랑 꼴래야 가르친 것도.
딱 코란 때로 딱가 공부해야지 딱 공부를 했던 게 다 되버려.
그지.
딱 코란 세야라 된다. 벌에는 라마 슈터 때 데레 치 슈트롬신 저래. 신기 소원을 하셨지. 다 승화를 붙인데 세야라 콜로니 슈 쟁안에 아니 알아서 딱 녀디여 봐. 녀다. 녀디가 싸워는 심고요 말이. 슈트롬 됐음. 다 민내다 구부러 봐. 땅안도 라브란데 달라 땅안도 대박 기두그라고 땅안도 미니 수며 땅안도 딱 공다라고지는 추주지바 제파디 잠잠 서자시오라 별이나 또 서자디 간다 추주 체계 도로 된데리 제자오래 다 된데 추주지바 세러버진데 아니 다 서자자 마요서 아니 배디 슈등나래야 다 신경도 가서다 간도 딱 치료네 통구리 시거나네 아니 배디 또 검정 슈도가 라마 시비죠 배디
He was very old when I got to the labrang, but he was very special. From what I heard, he had never slept on a bed since he was 25 years old. So he had this like a wooden chair, or like a box dojo. It's like a box that was
Meditation
made
box.
into
yeah.
made-
We call 슈dom이야.
and so he would meditate on that every night.
Oh yes,
and
it's different. Yes.
Yeah, he was very special. So we had to serve him tea every half an hour, but around 10 o'clock he would say, "Now you don't
Yeah.
have to
Enough.
serve me tea." And so we could see from the window from outside he would be meditating.
Wow. Was he from that monastery or somewhere else in Tibet?
그럼 공부
공부 다 알아니. 다 당부 코로나 통사되고 장원이래. 다 당부 통사지로 중이.
장가네.
되게 넘루 말이야. 담시스네.
담.
코로나 심간데야 심가이니 지시리. 코로나 다디 독바진디 바메쇼 강바야 말아. 나 부간 드녀. 코로나 당부 통사디.
He was born in a nomad family in Tam, and I've been there. There wasn't a house; it was just a tent. I guess he was a nomad, but yeah. And then he came to our monastery.
So all of his training and spiritual development happened in the monastery?
So Quran the chue the jangya the samadi gombanara. Yes.
대장 아니 야 코로나기 라마 치아진다 왕롱 슈르 봐. 시 안에 담다 마 코로나 참 슈르. 참 지슈나 나와투. 가시라 로직체 되게 슈르.
Yes, and he received a lot of teachings from other high lamas as well. And he would often do retreats for like sometimes 6 months or a year.
And his name is Simwog
Rinpoche.
Simwor walk.
Simwog. Tadi Simwog 세야려.
Ale wo se.
나도 공세야다 워세야 저러 봐.
Simwo ale.
심공 공마세야 저러 봐.
Simse di
심질 심간세요.
Simganchi ani wa di wa de se.
공이여 봐. 먼저도 오마체요.
What would be the transliteration? Simwo. Maybe like that.
Maybe like that.
So literally it would mean sim means sleep and wa means below.
Yeah.
So the lower level.
Simwog.
Simwog. That was his name. Now, did he, when the Chinese invaded the Tibet, did he escape or was he arrested? Do you know what happened to him?
Escape.
Gemi di chidu zambala Quran jurwe chu gyal chu.
유튜브에 한 말이.
The Chinese weren't able to arrest him.
다 Lhasa le ya nibe karu re de ta nobelinga le merjo tawro jemi
좋아.
ta dine da ngajo komba dine Lhasa ba laji ar kolasin kolasin de an Lhasa wone ta pene ju chawa da mangbo choyong yo choyong de da la ta 신다기 파지 대화체하게 요마르와 시하게 요마르와 안주 카르체서 달하살을 멀죠때기도 답에도 부땡기 라버와 아니 드네 제장 아주 두지디 딱 내주라 보니 딱 아주 대장 아주 좀 칭 제를 쓴거 딱 아주 된다 공가야로와 공가스나 하스서 영화 그래 근데 나란저 내중 조종 소로다 요새 여러봐 공가 디나리아 좀 칭 신리푸도와 생리신 표야야래 파리리스 디나데야 아니 이기티 이런 뭐지 디나데 다 데나가도 변나가도 다 슈글티 아니 데 바다디 아니 얘기 공간나라 피지 틴주 땅만한 거야 틴주 생각 와지랑 송막 틴주 땅디 아니 미치기도 쉬었다 바디 도 디그리 디디사 지금 용
포라도지.
그러죠. 다 온다지가 아니 지금 막 통벌 왔다 통구리. 도무디 안 때디달라. 안다 죽었어요. 아니 두제 딱 먼저 조용한데 달라 건다베 체는 사rum을 조용해.
So when they started bombing Norbolinka and Lhasa, since we were very close to Lhasa, we had a lot of monks and people escaping from Lhasa, and at the times we didn't know what to do. So Rinpoche wanted to have like a divination, so he wrote like on two pieces of paper whether we should go or stay, and then they rolled it into a ball of flour and then a dough, and then he went into that special room where we have all those special prayers for divination, and we did all the pujas trying to figure out what to do. And somebody, as they were doing puja, somebody was rolling those two doughs in a bowl and as they were doing this, one ball came up, and then when we looked, it said we should go, and so we left in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Really? How did it come up? I mean, were you rolling it around the bowl? Is that what happened?
The poranal do score gaderwa. Tutu tang du zambal dia chik dia khandes chik thembar we khandes.
다 대당부 bed다 좀 찡게 하면 하수 아니 몰람시 비껴야 알아다. 다 고라란 신기. 알아서 powerboard na 신기 그 넘버 통.
Oh, like a centrifuge.
Yeah, like powerboard. Yeah.
It's just because Rinpoche had prayed on it a lot, and it just happened just like how we have the lottery Powerball.
Oh, yes.
The one ball pops up.
Jumping like that, yeah, come out.
The ball came up and it said go.
Yeah.
It said leave.
Yeah.
Leave.
Yeah.
And you just all left. How many? Everybody in the small labrang left.
Labranal
Oh,
you
yes.
sangma.
Yes. That they can do that make a chuleniera with the yarwa. The shabji sora.
Some of the assistants stayed behind, otherwise everybody left.
Can you tell us about the journey? What happened?
Si tu indu zambala langala ta khande chungsu di kol the shero chida.
Ta langal ngandu de ba changol ba chimbre. Ta changol ba ya changol ya larangi de yor ba. Semje da tinde mangbu yor ta changol ba. Ta tinde changol ba negap changol ba de ins.
Chang kwaina.
다 장선은 내가 인고는데 말이야. 다 독벨롱바래. 독벨롱바.
디는다 rumbuchi khora chik phayudo.
어디 그런게 된다 투사저로 와. 어디 예용을 바래. 드네 파치 다도 진드네 아니가 지 아우스나 줄로 인스가. 다디네 이제 다 시부시부 깨져더니요. 아니가 다 용일 깨져 튀어요. 가르쳐서 가르쳐. 딸 하산이 간가 떨어져서 스케미 매겨시 된대고 아니 간도 누치제 아니 간도 배 창딩원에 아용으로 봐. 랑가디 대도 가바도와지 땅도 또 강하를 붙이지 아도 인스. 어딜라고요.
Let's see. So the plan was to go where Rinpoche was born in the nomadic land the plan was to go there, stay there for a while, and then when things calmed down, we would come back to the monastery. But of course, there were more people coming, and when we spoke with them, they talked about how Lhasa was completely destroyed and things were not looking good. So finally, we just had to abandon our plans of going back and then move ahead towards Nepal.
말따디네 탐구 가바르는데 저 가바르에서 다 랑가는 쪽바딘데 투그러 봐. 당은 저 떠요 가르면 진짜 알고 있어. 딱 가르면 진짜 완전히 망고야 알아 봐.
So as we were moving, we would meet other nomad families, and when they asked us where we were going, we would just say, "Oh, we are going to Mount Kailash," and that was our cover story.
다들 내가 저 뭐니까 이제 지금 아니 원래 제가 딱 저 배우의 산도라고 저러 봐. 진짜 아니 죽죠. 아니 로라 죽으러 봐. 로맨당신데.
And so we crossed Mount Kailash and then into the Nepalese border, and then we came to Lomantang, which is in Upper Mustang in Nepal.
Yep. Very rugged journey.
Oh yeah.
Lamgas.
나도 뒤에 거 버려. 다와 숨생 거를 난가라.
Oh, it took us about 3 months.
Ay. Very hard. Did you actually, were you able to circumambulate Mount Kailash?
Oh, can't much Korean you
말해.
Couldn't do it.
가르 뭐지 배 야틀래. 카드고 수용으로 와.
No, we didn't.
야시다도 그랬어도.
Yeah, we would have to go a long ways off our path
Off
if
your
we
path.
had to go,
Yeah,
if we wanted to go to Mount Kailash. So we just came straight.
You came straight from your monastery straight into and where?
Chang, which
into,
was yeah.
Nepal through Mustang,
Mustang, yes.
and then where next?
We haven't quite gotten
Okay,
there yet.
okay.
So we are in Lomantang right now.
네, Lomantang.
Lomantang lerwa.
And then what happens?
아니 디젤 같이.
로맨단에 아니 마틴네 아니 로맨단 시디 자외 배배 미세리도 왔다. 네발리 미세리디. 이나망가 벽에자 아니래 봐. 벽에자 아니 가서리 표제고. 다디네마 아니 간도마 탁바사 말이야. 탁바시디들 아마 죽제시야디 딱간다니 발리. 다데서 딱게 벽에je 말이. 이발게. 안도스마 프로그램 알레르와.
Let's So the people in Lomantang, though they were Nepalese citizens, they spoke Tibetan and they wore Tibetan dress. And from Lomantang, we moved down to Tarpa and then Tukse. And people over there didn't speak Tibetan. And then finally, we reached Pokhara.
Oh, yes. I know that area, yes. Was it Tarpa or Marpa?
Tarba. Tarba.
Did you go through Marpa?
Marpa
They go
is also there.
Tagali, some people speak Tibetan.
Yes, some would.
Yeah.
They could 청바시지를.
Yeah, most of the people we met on the way were businessmen.
And how did you travel? By foot? Did you have animals?
근데 건반선 침배나 야 쌤제.
만도 배드 제야리. 제 지그로 봐.
제는 따랑 말와.
말을 따말. 제는 물사 말 뭐. 뮤 사와 뮤. 만도 제야리. 제다 따다 담배 할람 제지차던 줄.
Oh, we had horses and mules, about 80 of them.
80?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
How
How many were in your party?
Me 가져요.
party 디데달라 땅 아란도 디데라브라니 야레. 이 제제 배지 미 납주 투지기리.
So two labrangs together, we were about 50 or 60 people.
아니 랑가네 조용디달라 지기지기 투구야 방가도. 지디달 아니 임도요.
And we would also meet other people, other groups on the way, and everybody traveled together.
Were people afraid? But were the people you were meeting, were they fleeing from the Chinese like you were?
안단다 람갈 미투교 돈조에 콘조에 딱 게미니 퇴용했는데 베스.
Yes.
They were.
리모스 맞아 딘데리 딱 가서 딱 코란데 예바게 산장 물롱바 미투 좋은 거 봐. 그때 투지 거라야 말. 이내면에야지. 먼저 아무도 듣다 망고요.
네.
근데 다 콘조 하고 가라 되니 근데 지금 이미 신나 되네 투용을 하고 다 용지 그렇 진이요 말.
The people who lived right around the border, they weren't even thinking about crossing into Nepal. But we had some people from Amdo who were with us, and because they knew what the situation
And
was like.
did you have any people from Kham who were already coming from Kham too?
Yeah, yes.
Kamchone mi
Yeah,
yes.
Yes, I heard many people from Kham went to Mount Kailash and then escaped.
Right.
konzo kurangi kososra kamchone mi mangboji zu yung Rinpoche gyuchin ani ma zu Nepal zu yung in mangbodos. Yes.
다 디디 디토 초래야 강아르무지 초래야 데미고라지게 말.
There were no Chinese at all in that area, in the
No.
Mount Kailash area. at
No,
the
I
time.
know.
Yeah.
How old was the Lama at that time? Was he able to make the journey very well?
다 디디 전일
Or did you
Yeah,
carry
Rinpoche
him?
공로 가지 나.
다 디디 달라 딱딱다 시험데 개요 말. 다 고랑기 이 디디 달라 집이야 따직다 제지어래.
오지.
다 이마직 제대 집. 이마직 따대지 저래. 따데네 샵지지기 따데 티조래. 이 티니 대야 고라 따숑하여래. 다 샵지니기 지기 예원네 지기 용네 겨울도스.
konzo ya tagal yorwe.
야마 간다 진고.
알레.
당간저 때가 여러 때가 디간저 다 시비소 신경만 지 담야래 지어래. 맞지 말이야. 디미시 야용이냥 간저 미니기 교용 거.
알레. 디디 공로 가지 나. Rinpoche.
다 디지다 제주나래 야래. 제주나래 야래.
He must have been in his 80s at the time. And he had a horse and a mule just for him, so he would switch between the two. And when he was on the horse, there was another person leading the horse who was also on a horse, and then there would be two more people on each side sort of supporting him. And these two were walking on their foot. Yeah.
Wow.
대동한지 직다 처라고 전에 쇼배 추주자와 제제 통 추주니바 되는 대리.
Oh, so
She
we
would
would
do tomorrow,
So we would start around 8 in the morning and then stop at around 2. So we couldn't go very far.
No,
during the
no.
day, yeah.
Would do you recall? You said this Lama was a reincarnation. Can you recollect who he was supposed to be a reincarnation of?
Oh, the Quran Rinpoche Quran 주고랬어 와.
이래래.
근데 가리 주고 있나?
저도 스모르 붙였어.
Simwog Rinpoche.
책도 아마 따라라.
Yeah. Oh, he was the incarnation of Simwog Rinpoche.
Yeah.
So the previous incarnation also had the same name, Simwog Rinpoche.
Oh,
Simwog Rinpoche.
same person. Had Simwog Rinpoche lived a long time prior, or just
간
recently?
망보 중요나 딩외나 구도 망보 중요나 간데나.
디디 시대 제가 구도 히바리세 수도.
Oh, people say he was the fourth one.
He was the fourth one.
야.
What was so important about Simwog Rinpoche? What were his qualities that people admired or respected?
코란 다 캐주로 믹스에 미상매 구샵지에다 미상매 다직 차샤서 요로 지 캐주로 믹스에 가리요나스.
다미지라고 그런 자외다 최고 돌아 연대니 배랑 전부 여러 봐. 다 디가래 코란 니마 중디네다 벽을 남아지도 원롱슈 여러 봐다. 원다 롱슈사. 코란 벨라마망 내 신용 여러 봐. 다 딘데 공부시다 여러 봐. 뭐 딘데기 아니 단징에 시바 아니 코란 원롱슈 아니 참슈래. 다 니바 봄냄 봄께 여러 봐. 나이나. 딘데기 아니라 신기 다 진라 전부. 아니 코란기 디 울리아 디 죽도야다.
알레.
우드네야 베데 다 이러지 다가를 벌린 다 우대샤기로 봐. 똑똑하다 여다. 벤제야. 죽도 노세요래. 아니 구주 대야지 베 똑똑하다.
알레.
다디 다간지 딱다다 하고 말아. 다디 우드 죽도 매기 카르스디다. 롱디 십지 고만난 게 있어도가. 검정디. 롱디 십지 고만이나 아니 저거디 부르스도가.
알레스.
다베 그 저거디 가서 도전이 팀이 보고 저거서 잘. 근데 진짜 양 구체 작바진데 가시 대바 작바진데 저거 처음부터 도와 진짜 맞아. 그래서 구체 작고야. 그거 뱉든데죠. 코란 게 란시 따로 만다도 어디요.
So from a very young age, he had received a lot of teachings from many different high lamas, and so he knew a lot in terms of religion and the Buddha's teachings, and also because he was meditating a lot, he had like a protruding tummy, almost like he almost looked pregnant sometimes, but he wasn't fat or big or anything. And people said that it was because he was meditating and some kind of air that collected in his tummy, but it was just special, and that's what people believed. And he also had a protrusion on his head, which was very clear, and people thought it was special.
우디 터다 땅아주 땅다 제기로 와. 근데 본데서죠.
Yeah.
남만다 쉬죠.
It was about this big, the size of a thumb. We could it could be seen very clearly.
And since he was such an so adept at meditation, did he ever try to teach the monks how to meditate?
그런다 벳 네가서 디규엔 케부 쉬우지여와. 근데 콘수 단다 쿠쇼 심바든절로 그런 게 랍나 요나스.
데 시블라블랑 말에. 딱 그런 건데 딱 메디테만 딱 강화 롱으로 봐. 왕다 롱신이야. 와 진짜 망고야. 다 이네 르무체 코란 게 시브라난 거 말에. 망아 코란 배 공조 쉬우도와. 다 두스난 거 주나? 다와난 거로 와.
There were a lot of people who used to come to him for teachings, but he didn't give a lot of teachings. He was mostly just, he loved to meditate, and that's what he did most of the time, because if he started to give teachings, he would have to do them for months, and he wouldn't have time for his own practice, meditation.
Yes. So, well, I think we maybe should wrap up your journey. You had a lot of horses and a large number of people with you, and you finally arrive in, what's your final destination?
Tas nganzo phöni chu yungdu zambala ta chik lomantang che ani tharpa che tukse ani pokral jorwa ta tama desa de pokral reves
마 다디체레 오다 포ral 조니 당간주 럼부치 나바 마자갈 페레
alelese
자갈 다름살라 다 디네 나에게 대버다
kwadar
Pokral.
pokral
다 디네 가르에서 포ral 대고 하긴데 디디다 신내 포랄이야 주시간도 못 주었다 주시간도 서말다 로바이 볼라이 이게 그러라 어디 뒤도 쭉디달라 다 디네야 얘기 주시간도 내가 지니 땅안 좀 오시면 같이 정우래 다 뒤도 나 대해서라 딱나 대해서야 내 신다 그만 딱내 변에 라브라 친제 이게 대해서 신기하러 봐 다 이게 파지지 그럼 이게 땅 제야다 개와 말이 땅은 좀 보라네 아들이 명제자기야 다 주신님이 아니 로리야 맨당고 다 릴레야 맨당 슬라는 릴레야 대로마가 되도야 칼라 땅이야 당아와데 페로니지 때리 먼저 좀 붙인 넘버 샤자마 다름살 페
So when we got to Pokhara, Rinpoche and some of his assistants, most of them actually, they went to Dharamsala, but I stayed back in Pokhara because around that time they were establishing the Chushi guerrilla army, and since I knew a little bit about reading and writing, they wanted me to stay back and work with them, and so I stayed back, and I stayed for about 2 years, and my main responsibility was we had to buy a lot of things, food for the army, all those people who were up in the hills, so I had to get all of those stuff that they needed, and then I had to send them the stuffs. And I did that, stayed there for about 2 years.
2 years. Yes, there are many stories about Chushi Gangdrug and food, and I know some of the stories. How long did the Chushi Gangdrug stay there in Mustang? That's where they were, right?
Mustang?
we call Mustang.
They were in Mustang.
but actually not Mustang, the mountain side, you know.
It's in the
Yeah,
mountain
up the
side,
mountain.
up
see
the
that.
mountain.
Yeah, we cross it.
How long did they stay? Because I know that they were told to disband
Oh, yeah.
many years later. But when you were there, was it just the beginning?
Just beginning, yeah.
What year? So that would have been 1960,
64 or 5.
64 or 5.
Yeah. Then lots of people coming India
Yeah.
to, you know,
Yeah. Many
Tibetan.
Tibetans were coming.
or Parama.
They wanted to fight or
Oh,
join
yes,
the Chushi
yes,
Gangdrug.
Gurula, yeah, starting. Yeah.
디디 좀 발다 망미디 고 추징하는 고추
시대에
차서
고추
아니 미망부 용거를
요래.
근데 야간에 주 용거를
다 뭔가 야하네, 요래. 페네츠도 용이 그래요, 막. 다 족밭도 이제 가게 신경을 그래서 용이요, 막. 다 맨에 얘마 추주 간두고 허가를 주려요, 봐. 대조 가르야 몬다완 다 가르 대주네 다야 타르바 야가나. 다 대조 양 추용 거야. 강가디네 용 야가네.
So a lot of the people who wanted to join the army, they were coming from India, because the Tibetans coming from India, they used to be in army in Tibet before,
Right.
and they had come to India through Muntawang, Arunachal Pradesh, and some of the other regions. And when they heard that we were establishing another army, they came to join us. So there weren't very many people from like just across the border from Nepal, because most of them were nomads anyway, and they didn't really know.
And the army had to disband. As we know, the Tibetan army finished. It couldn't fight anymore. And so many went to India, and then they wanted to sign up and join again
Right.
and fight some more.
Yeah.
그래,
And
별 혼자 망미는 좀 많이 돼도
and
말
so-
쉬었지 혼자 상만 참으로 와.
네,
딱 야가지
네,
다양
어디,
혼자.
어디,
Yeah.
근데 이때 그런 게 친구들이 이게 로바진이 아메리카로 와.
그래.
야, 그거래.
Yeah. And the Americans
배사대니다
assisted
만다대니까
us.
그래 아메리카.
Yeah. They gave us all the weapons.
was gone. Yeah.
They dropped weapons.
Yes.
I know. And so what were you doing? You were buying food and
Yeah.
bringing it?
Kind of I'm secretary, you know, just writing, no.
궁예로로 secretary도.
문예 말. 문예랑 찍어래. 먼저 대 미시어래. 당 문예를 찍어래. 그런 좀 찍지. 아니 간저 계주 찍어래. 찍지. 아니 간저 딱 맞아서 말해. 칼라스 찍어래. 아니 가야랑 아카레 토장이다.
네.
다데 디녀베인 디녀이 세로 왔는. 다 네발리도 디카르시 그래. 티다체니 쇼웨리네도 개바쿠 용도 와.
도와.
다담님도 개바용 딱 쇼웨가도 추주 개바 되는 거 주고래. 미망골리 딱 가서래. 그 아니 데 가서 다들 민가지 제야 좋아. 그래서 제 가시 딱 개바쿠는 막보다 말와.
맞아.
아니 대중이 다 추주 중이 전에 아니 사와랑 여러와. 아니 용이야 말이.
So we were 4 of us in Pokhara. So there was the treasurer or the accountant, and then there was a translator, and then there was a cook, and then there was me, and I was responsible for to keep all the records and write everything down, all the purchases that we made. So around 8 o'clock in the morning, we used to get these people coming from villages. They would bring rice and food on their backs, and we would buy those things from them. And then at around 12, when it starts getting a little bit hot, then people would stop coming to sell. So,
So a few years. And then what made you leave Pokhara?
보란다 저거에 좀 생각하는.
다 디네 다 디디 보라기 딱 그런다 저는 지금 개인 시세죠 봐. 여래. 딩에만은 한 워싱이야.
알았어.
그러네 워싱 예빠봐서 워싱 뭐. 다 그런 시도 다 지난 빼하고 주대 됐어. 그런 얘기 다 맨다 키제 조금 말했어. 다 다가란 내용 내가 제대 라버리. 다 근저 나땅 안도 다 상대기에서 다 이마지 아니 온다 제가 땅에 다 쳐서면서 땅 안저를 무지 자갈 배 차러 봐. 땅 안을 무지 제가 도 인스. 네라. 다 보라네 지난 지는 로 대버려. 땅 아 예바이는 다 그 말 마. 가 차르랑가. 다 보라네 진초저로 와가. 디디다와 딱 한마디 레지버스 십시분 가지고 깨고라 힘 말와. 응애 된다. 나 얘기 디디 예 된다 깨지 등에 이게 니발리 깨대 잠비. 신스. 자 아니게 땅아를 무지 자발이 아니 다가 많이 영샤.
알았어. 이시 바와 이시 생이더라.
바와 이시.
코라니 추시 간쪽 디카르 So and then there was Bawa Ishi. I don't know if you know about him, but he was like the leader of Chushi Khandu army, and I knew him from before, from inside Tibet. My dad actually knew him, and he told me that I should stay in Pokhara, that I don't have to go fight, and he wanted me to stay in Pokhara and work for them. And so finally I just said, oh, I want to go and meet my Rinpoche in India. And at the time I knew a little bit of Nepalese because I had learned it from the translator, and it was easy for me from Pokhara to go to India. If I had been in Mustang up in the mountains, I wouldn't have been able to come down at all. But since I was in Pokhara, it was easy, and so I said I'm going to go see my Rinpoche, and I left Pokhara.
It sounds like what a young man would do
Very
when
good.
he's ready to travel.
Yes.
You were about 18, something like that? 18, 20?
Oh yeah, 18, 20.
18, somewhere in there.
Yes.
About 18, 20. And well, then a whole new story begins,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
아니 로기 싸우지 고츠고야. 약간 야가존지.
아니 근데 nga Dharamsala 레바다가 아니 디디 Dharamsala 가로 법벨레 운신에 고추고야와 고추바라고 했다. 근데 시리라고 세 나실레고 세 도발. 다 디디 변해야 요니 이기신이 쉬면도 와. 야 말이야. 지 이마자는 칸바 암도도 등사야보다 명예 막 희비신 말이야. 땅이면 구다 제인이 화상원 쇼니 대신이로 와. 아니 nga Dharamsala 레바다데 다 디딩알리 때다 민원 시험을 와 이거를 어디디 아니 시리레고 샤. nga 시리레고 남살래가 돼.
Then I reached Dharamsala, and the Tibetan government was just being set up at the time. And there weren't very many Tibetans who knew how to read and write. A lot of people, like Kampas and Amtos, they're very educated now, but at the time, not many of them were literate. But we had some from Lhasa, from noble families, who had the opportunity to study. So they knew a little bit. And since I knew a little bit, I got a job right away working in the Department of Education.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
So you were no longer a monk.
No.
Finished.
No.
Did you
No
ever?
monasteries, no
Finished.
place go.
That was the end of that.
Yeah.
Did you ever see your Rinpoche again?
Rinpoche Jason.
Yes, yeah.
You did?
Rinpoche 된다 데데 Dharamsala 샤브리.
Ruwa.
nga ma yung cha de lo chi ni ji ne sha so nga di de yi
He passed away a year or two after I reached Dharamsala, so I was able to see him. I was there.
You were able to see him.
Oh,
Isn't
yes,
that
yes.
good? Wonderful. Well, that sounds like maybe a good ending part to know the to know that you got to see your Rinpoche again.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you feel you want to add to your story that maybe we didn't cover?
다 산다 발라 림부체 제제데 따직 참 줌게 무슨 참 샤사 약부지 케스스라 아니 따이네 간조연 다른 디 마셰버데 발라이 디콜랑 간조리 신도 요버데 케 믹스드 케 요베스
대고라 미세 쉬하면도 다 가서래 따디 그런 지당 예 지당기 당연히마 버기디에 때로 유하고 가라 다 된대 법행하라도 Dharamsala 치계입에 법에 미직다 다 개인바다 해야면 다 그말이로 와 시험바도 지당기 삼주라고 때지 해야도 때 시나리오를 봤습니다.
I don't have anything in particular, but I wanted to say something about how the Tibetans, the younger generation, not just in India but here in the West, in different countries around the world, I wanted to say something about them. Is it okay if I share that with you?
Absolutely. I would very much appreciate if you would tell us your ideas.
Example, before 1959, you know, a little bit Tibetan, you know, they have the program in the Yawin. And the Metan of Jungu Kola, Peveta, Devashun Yarva. Devashun cities are Takasura Kudas or Lejevas or Kahij Sim de Arwa. Tanga the Shendare, Mimari, and Mimarij, 내가 심고 주도 마치 했었다. DC 골레베 지그리스 DC 골바시디 다 지단 내가 챙이도 콘조 지그리 간도 주도 저 말했어요. 다 된대라고 제제 지금 허양 세그레 미만데 다 디갑디 미만데 로종이 줘봐라 봐. 자외 미만 로종 세일면아 꼭 가시는 사람한테 가보라 봐. 된대게 간도 투쇼 희비침 버려. 지지치네 아니 다 예미하고 가로다. 제제 띠다디 망고시 딱 간데 관계 내가 진이 이 미만 이 하루마루 마세제 다 제가 무슨 마담체 안 된대게 쇼라 봐. 지지제 다 된대 차샤나 딱 안 된다. 다와를 이신나 비베다 표도를 쉬우진 남겨 봐. 다 등산을 누 때나 니마 투주나라 다 랍다도 초버 봐. 마수르다 심라도 디디살라 지게 표배보고도 럽종 약고 좀 시다 약고요. 럽종을 십천부. 다 디디 지 로라고 차샤나 디딩게 때 하고 가시를 내려와. 부가시에다 로 달랍달 튕지 쉬우면 로용 말와. 지 슈마라부터 봐. 그저 이게 띠띠 쉬우 지 가소래다 투주나 그도 약고 시다 정말. 다 등산에 차샤나 달랍대도 튕지 약고 로도 약고요 봐. 다 이내지 표배보고도 지 인지도 약고도 다 표이 토를 빼러져 버려도 와. 다 된대게 나랑도 투쇼라고 두고도 와. 표배미디 가서래 투쇼서 그래. 다 낭미서로 딱 할수 그래.
더 나아마지 그러지.
어제 낭미라고 다 단도 다 된다. 야외이신의 두지기 다 지게래. 이는 자가나니 시라야고 여러 다 유디달라 다 되기도 단도배 관계배들 허양 지도 와. 허양하고 단도 때 야기했던 아메리카를 차시는 다 롱반디 데리다 여러 단도배디 야기했던 아들도 배디 치우지래도 와.
야.
뭐 딘데를 정해지 될 허양 마침이다. 땅에만 차르다 차르와. 다 제가 디탄데다 등산게 로숑바 다도 되저래도 와. 다 대바도 땅에만 땅에로 저저 강간낭매라고 쇼 타자 강가 쇼 차르와.
Yeah. So before 1959, the Tibetan government was controlled by a few noble families or members of some of the richer families, and the common Tibetan would just say like, "Oh, we shouldn't bother. They will take care of the government, and it's none of our business." And people were very laxed, I guess, and there was no involvement, no participation, and that's how the Chinese knew and came in, took over our country. And then afterwards, our generation, I know because I worked in the Department of Education. I remember in the 60s when we started the Tibetan schools in exile. The conditions were very poor. We didn't have proper lights, but students were very hardworking. They would study, they would take butter lamps or candles, and they would study because they didn't have lights, and students were very hardworking. But now we have great schools with all these wonderful facilities, but the students are not as hardworking, I guess. And there is again, people are beginning to relax again and not taking as much responsibility, and it makes me sad. Even when I look at our present Tibetan generation, the younger generation, they don't know Tibetan very well. They know English, but they don't know Tibetan very well, which is very sad. And I know maybe we didn't do very well in terms of our own contribution and participation, but that's over. What's in the past is past, but in future we need people to take better responsibility and take a more active role in our country. And that's what I would like to say.
Yes. That sounds like a very heartfelt observation
yes.
of what needs to be done by the next generation.
Yes.
So I'm glad they have your words to practice and maybe use your insights.
Yeah.
di krang tanda sungma di ngone demba do resha sra an di maong bala nga zo shunge dun zo gi chedu di lapchas masune khran zo laglen tar goe di khechimbo shiuj re samgi dos.
Yes. Is there, as we wrap up and conclude this interview, is there any other message you want to give to the Tibetan next generation of Tibetan children?
No, that's
You said you said your
yeah,
point.
that's it.
You made your point. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me. I'm only because part of our protocol is to ask you again one more time, since you have given your interview. If this interview was shown in Tibet or China, would this be a problem for you?
No problem.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your
Thank you.
story with
Yeah,
us.
Thank you very much.
Tachena.